In the heart of Abuja, at the elegant Haven's Delight restaurant, a serene Monday afternoon unfolded with the gentle hum of soft music and the aroma of gourmet dishes wafting through the air. Patrons dressed in fine attire savored their meals and engaged in quiet conversations, while waitstaff glided gracefully between tables. The atmosphere was one of calm sophistication, a haven of comfort for the city's elite. But this ordinary day was about to be transformed by an extraordinary encounter, one that would challenge hearts, uncover hidden truths, and remind everyone present of the power of kindness. The front door creaked open, drawing little attention at first. Then, a hush fell over the dining area as a frail figure stepped inside. Her name was Esther, an elderly woman whose weathered appearance told a story of hardship. Her faded wrapper hung loosely on her thin frame, its edges frayed and stained. A torn blouse revealed a bony shoulder, and her bare feet, caked with dust, shuffled cautiously across the polished floor. In her trembling hands, she clutched a small plastic bag as if it were her most precious possession. Eyes heavy with exhaustion scanned the room briefly before settling on the floor. She looked like someone's grandmother, her back slightly hunched, her face etched with lines of a life well lived but worn by struggle. A murmur rippled through the restaurant. A waiter near the counter exchanged a glance with a colleague, whispering, "Who let her in here?" Another responded, "Probably just another beggar." A woman at a nearby table raised an eyebrow, muttering to her companion, "This is no place for someone like her." The air grew thick with judgment, and Esther, sensing the stares, moved slowly toward the counter, her steps deliberate but unsteady. Behind the counter stood Mr. Chukwu, the restaurant manager, impeccably dressed in a crisp white shirt and tailored trousers. His posture was rigid, his expression stern. Esther stopped before him, her voice barely above a whisper. "Please, sir," she began, her words trembling with humility, "I haven't eaten since yesterday. I don't need much, just any scraps you might have. I'd be so grateful." The room fell silent. A few customers turned to watch, some with curiosity, others with disdain. A young man snickered, and another raised his phone to capture the moment. Esther stood still, her dignity intact, despite the weight of their gazes, but Mr. Chukwu's response was far from kind. He scanned her from head to toe, his lips curling into a mocking smile. "Old woman," he said loudly, his voice dripping with condescension, "this is a restaurant, not a soup kitchen. Did you lose your way?" Esther's lips parted, but no words came. The manager's laughter cut through the silence, sharp and cruel. "We don't serve people like you here," he continued, his voice carrying across the room. "Go beg somewhere else." A waiter stifled a chuckle, while another whispered something under his breath. Esther's hands tightened around her plastic bag, her eyes fixed on the floor. "I only wanted something small," she murmured. "Even bones would do." Mr. Chukwu waved her off dismissively. "Get out before you scare away my customers," he snapped. The room grew tense. Some patrons looked uncomfortable, their forks pausing mid-air. A woman feeding her child whispered to her husband, "She's just hungry. Look at her." But Mr. Chukwu was unrelenting. "This isn't a charity," he declared. "Leave now." Esther didn't move. Her frail body seemed rooted to the spot, her spirit unbroken despite the humiliation. In the corner of the restaurant, a woman sat alone, her presence commanding yet understated. Her name was Ada, a pediatrician who had recently returned to Nigeria after years abroad. Dressed in a sleek navy dress, her polished appearance contrasted sharply with Esther's tattered state. Ada had been watching the scene unfold, her meal untouched, her heart growing heavier with each passing moment. There was something about Esther, her quiet resilience, her gentle voice, that stirred a memory deep within her. Zada's eyes lingered on Esther. They caught a glint of something familiar, a worn necklace dangling from the old woman's neck. The chain was thin, the pendant dull with age, but its shape was unmistakable. Ada's breath caught in her throat. She reached into her purse, pulling out an old photograph. Its edges worn but the image clear. It showed two young women laughing, one of them wearing the same necklace. The woman in the photo was Amara, Ada's closest friend from her school days, a bond forged through shared dreams and hardships. Could this elderly woman be connected to Amara? Ada's heart raced as she stood, her heels clicking against the floor as she approached the counter. The room, as attention shifted as Ada positioned herself beside Asar, facing Mr. Chukwu. Her voice was calm but firm. "Did I just hear you mock this woman for being hungry?" she asked, her eyes piercing. Mr. Chukwu blinked, caught off guard. "Madam, this is a business, not a place for beggars," he retorted. Ada's gaze didn't waver. Turning to the other patrons, she raised her voice slightly. "Is this how we treat our elders now?" With scorn and laughter. A murmur of agreement rippled through the room. A young woman at a nearby table whispered, "She's right, that could be anyone's mother." An older man nodded solemnly, adding, "We've lost our way if this is how we act." Mr. Chukwu's confidence faltered as the mood shifted. Ada continued, her voice steady but powerful. If this woman were your mother, would you let her be treated this way? The manager opened his mouth to respond, but Ada cut him off. I know the owner of this restaurant, she said, her tone icy. One more word, and you'll be out of a job by morning. The room fell silent, the weight of her words sinking in. Mr. Chukwu's smirk vanished, and he stood frozen, aware of the eyes and cameras now trained on him. Ada turned to Esther, her expression softening. Mama, she said gently, taking the old woman's hand, you're eating with me today. Come, let's sit. Esther's eyes, filled with uncertainty, met Ada's. Her lips trembled, but she nodded, allowing Ada to guide her to a table by the window. The restaurant, once buzzing with chatter, was now quiet, the patrons watching in awe as Ada's compassion unfolded. A waiter, visibly nervous, brought a plate of jollof rice, grilled chicken, and a cold bottle of water to the table. Esther stared at the food, her hands trembling as she picked up the spoon. Is this for me? She asked, her voice barely audible. Ada smiled warmly. Yes, Mama, eat slowly. You're safe now. As Esther took her first bite, tears streamed down her face. Not loud sobs, but silent, grateful tears. She set the spoon down and looked at Ada. God bless you, my daughter, she whispered. I was so hungry. Ada reached across the table, holding Esther's hand. You don't need to thank me, she said softly. You've been through enough. As Esther ate, Ada's gaze returned to the necklace. Leaning in, she spoke carefully. Mama, that necklace, where did you get it? I knew someone who wore one just like it years ago. Esther paused, her fingers brushing the pendant. Her voice was heavy with memory. It was my daughter's. She said, her name was Amara. She gave it to me before she left this world. Ada's heart skipped a beat. Amara what? She asked, her voice trembling. Amara okay, Esther replied. My only child. A sickness took her from me. Ada's hand shook as she pulled the photograph from her purse again. Mama, please look at this, she said, her voice breaking. Esther took the photo, her eyes widening as she recognized the young woman smiling back at her, wearing the same necklace. This is my Amara, she whispered, tears spilling over. You knew her, Ada nodded, her own tears falling. She was my best friend, she said. We were like sisters in school. She told me about her illness, how she was fighting it. One day, her number stopped working. I tried to find her, but I couldn't. She gave me this photo and asked me to look for you someday. Esther clutched the photo to her chest, her sobs quiet but profound. She loved you so much, Ada continued. She told me how strong you were, how you raised her alone after her father passed. I promised her I'd find you. Esther's voice was barely a whisper. I lost everything after she died. I couldn't stay in our home. I had nothing left. The two women sat together, their hands clasped, their tears mingling. The restaurant around them faded away, leaving only the bond forged by a shared loss. In that moment, a promise made years ago began to take root. In the days that followed, Ada's kindness extended far beyond a single meal. She purchased a modest but beautiful house for Esther in a quiet Abuja neighborhood. The home was furnished with care, soft beds, warm lighting, and a small garden where Esther could sit in peace. Ada hired a young woman named Tyoma to assist with cooking and cleaning, ensuring Esther was never alone. She arranged for regular medical checkups, providing Esther with new glasses, medication, and a doctor who visited weekly. Ada also set up a monthly stipend, enough for Esther to live comfortably without worry. One evening, as they sat in Esther's new living room, a gentle breeze drifting through the open window, Esther took Ada's hands. My daughter, she said, her voice steady with gratitude. May God bless you always. May you never know lack, and may your children never suffer. Tata bowed her head, her heart full. Amen, Mama, she replied. Amen. Weeks later, Ada shared a secret she had kept close. Mama, I'm an orphan, she confessed. I lost my parents young, and life was hard. Amara was my rock. She helped me through school, gave me money, food, books, everything I needed to survive. She even paid for my ticket to study abroad. Everything I am today is because of her. Esther's eyes glistened with pride and sorrow. She was my angel, she said softly. Ada squeezed her hand. Now, Mama, I'm here for you. You'll never be alone again. The story of that day at Haven's Delight spread quickly. A young patron, moved by the encounter, wrote about it online, describing the cruelty of the manager and the compassion of Ada. The post went viral, sparking outrage and prompting the restaurant's owner to fire Mr. Chukwu. The incident became a reminder of the fragility of human dignity and the power of a single act of kindness to change a life. This story underscores the importance of empathy and respect for others, regardless of their circumstances. It highlights how one person's compassion can heal deep wounds and restore hope. Esther's journey from humiliation to honor and Ada's fulfillment of a decades-old promise remind us that kindness can bridge even the widest gaps of time and loss.